With the recent update, there was a couple of buffs and nerfs to a lot of the meta weapons, and so I'm going to be going over the new top 5 meta weapons that you should be using with the best classes. With the first one being the CR56, this is a very good weapon. They did nerf it, making it so there's a little bit more visual recoil on the weapon, so we're just going to be basically toning that back, making it a little bit easier to hit your shots. You guys can see, still has a very fast time to kill, probably my favorite AR in the game, tied up with the FFAR, which is going to be actually the first gun on this list. I just want to give you guys a little bonus build of the CR56. Now, for the muzzle, you kind of have to use the compensator. Obviously in Warzone, you usually want to do the monolithic to maximize that range, but if you're trying to make the weapon as accurate as possible, use that compensator. It gives you a lot of that recoil stabilization, which is what we lost in that recent update. For the barrel, because there's not that much bullet velocity or damage range, we are going to be using the reinforced barrel. Now, I still do the long barrel a lot of the time as well, so it kind of is up to you. Sometimes my connection, like if I have 100 ping, I'm going to use the reinforced barrel because it's just the faster your bullets are flying, like the better everything registers. But if I have like a good connection on the game, like 20 or 40, I'm always going to be using the long barrel, which I feel like most of you guys do have a very good connection. Just Warzone, use that reinforced. Now for the underbarrel, we are going to be using the Ranger foregrip just because the weapon, you can play aggressive with the weapon. There's not that much damage range, so you have to play somewhat, fast with it. This is going to make it so you don't get as many more dead slides, and then it also helps reduce a lot of that recoil. That side to side bounce goes away, while the muzzle is going to eliminate that up and down bounce. That's what she said. For the magazine, we are going to be using the extended mag 1, increasing that mag size. Obviously you could take this off for like an optic or something, but I feel like with this gun, you're going on so many streaks, you're never dying, to where the extended mag is definitely a very helpful option. Next up, for the rear grip, usually we would use the quick draw grip, but like I was saying, you want to play aggressive with the weapon, or you can play aggressive. So ergonomic is going to cut down on those delays. So if you do come across the corner, there's an SMG player, you're going to have a little bit of a higher chance to actually win that gunfight. And then for the stock, we're going to be throwing on the infiltrator stock, allowing you to strafe a little bit faster, making yourself a harder target to hit, and it's going to be easier to activate that rotational aim assist. With the Strelok laser, this is basically going to make it so the ADS feels a little bit faster. Before, for the underbarrel, we would use maybe something like the brand new G grip, which I guess, the G grip, which is going to build in a laser. It builds in the Strelok laser as well as, a regular underbarrel that gives horizontal recoil control. But it's better if you just, combo maybe the Ranger with the Strelok, because the Strelok actually gives you more of the hip fire ADS accuracy, furthermore making it feel like you have a faster ADS, and so it's easier to win those close range gunfights. And I do recommend this gun with the gunfighter, but if you do want 5 attachments, I will give you that version. Then lastly, for the fire mods, we are using the overpressured rounds. This is going to bring up that bullet velocity by a decent amount, and if you are using the reinforced barrel, then you could probably just do like the recoil springs, but Warzone, you definitely want to do overpressured. And so overall, this is going to be like the best 8 attachment CR56 in the game. And then if you do want to rock the 5 attachments, basically all you got to do is just take off all of these things. The bullet velocity is going to be kind of bad though, so then you do have to use the reinforced barrel. Do you want everything in Call of Duty without having to play the game? Then you should check out my long-term sponsor, Guapsi. Guapsi is a team of real players that will load onto your account to legitimately grind anything that you wish. And this goes for all the recent Call of Duties and many other games. They will even get you iridescent so you can flex all the cool rewards. Seriously, there's no risk involved because they don't use an unlock tool. They legitimately play in your account. And I've been with them for a long time and haven't seen a single negative review. And so if you want to save your time and energy, check out guapsi.com. For the first actual weapon on this list, this is going to be the FFAR, otherwise known as the FAMAS. This thing, incredible and actually overpowered if you're rocking these certain attachments. So definitely make sure you are using this weapon. It is so incredibly good, more so in the multiplayer, but it still works well in Warzone. That's just for Warzone, because you need a lot of bullet velocity. You're definitely going to want to use the reinforced over that long barrel. Multiplayer though, now we have a extremely fast TTK up to 26.4 meters. The RPM is almost 1,000 and is a 4-shot kill if you mix in a couple headshots into there. And so this thing, absolutely incredible with the long barrel. Like, it's just a little hard to hit your shots, which is why we do have the compensator. I was going to use the monolithic just to increase that damage range even more, bring it up to about 30, making it more broken, which it is more broken, but it's harder to hit your shots. So if you're missing some shots, then you're actually going to get a little bit of a slower TTK. Also, make sure you go over to the reticle and then try out like one of these reticles. Like, they're actually super enjoyable. There was one that I picked up, I think it was this reticle. It makes you feel like you're playing Black Ops 1. And if you put on the gold camo, I picked it up. Yeah, this reticle with the gold camo, and it just felt like a Black Ops 1 gun. It was so insanely satisfying. Obviously, it's better with just the regular one, but just try the other reticles. It really does make the game a lot more fun. This gun does have a decent amount of recoil, so we are using the vertical foregrip, bringing up that control, making it, again, easier to hit those shots. And so now there's not going to be that side-to-side bounce, and you're not going to have that much vertical, making it, you're allowed to, maximize that TTK. Fire rate, insanely fast. It's almost 1,000 RPM. It's almost a must to use the extended mag, which is kind of why I do recommend the gunfighter build over a non-gunfighter build for the FFAR. Then for the rear grip, we are going to be throwing on that quick draw grip, making it so the weapon's a little bit snappier. Although I feel like most of you guys are going to like the ergonomic because of how aggressive you can play with the weapon. Just this ADS speed does annoy me. So like at medium range, you're going to do better with the quick draw grip because you can snap on the targets a little bit better. But then you might have like that bad slide to fire delay, which is going to get you killed. And so it really kind of depends on your play style. I think overall, I'm still going to be doing that quick draw though. And then for the stock, we are going to be adding the balance stock. It's going to give you a lot of strafe speed. So if you're behind cover and you want to, you know, shoulder a corner, it's going to allow you to shoulder that faster. So then it's harder for the enemies to hit you. You can get the information. And then when you do go to ADS and, you know, and fire on the enemy, you can then strafe very fast. And then it's just harder for them to, you know, still be able to hit you. No laser on here. We are going to be adding the overpressured rounds. If we don't add this, you guys can see the bullet velocity is absolutely horrible. 600 meters per second. You do not want to do that. Warzone, again, use the reinforced on there. And this is more of like a multiplayer gun, but definitely take a screenshot of this class. Incredible, absolutely phenomenal. But for the for the 5 attachment build, we are going to be basically throwing on that reinforced barrel, taking off the optic. Gonna be rocking something like this. You could take off the underbarrel and then add the overpressured rounds. It's just the gun might be a little bit hard to use for you, so literally take that off. Go over here, fire mods, overpressured rounds, then long barrel. Now you got the best of everything. This is another very good one if you're a little bit more warmed up on the game. Let's see, there's not too much recoil, so you should be perfectly fine. Then lastly, you could take off maybe the extended mag for, you know, an optic, but run the 8 attachments for the FFAR. Same with this Krig C. This Krig C, fastest killing gun in the game at 3 shots across the map. This build right here has the balls on it, so it's a little bit you know, a little heavy, but you can just take off the magazine to add a smaller one on there. But bro, this thing, like if I'm going for nukes, I typically just use the Krig C because it just is so simple. With the dot friction MF reflex sight, again, you got to swap up the reticle. It makes it a little bit more enjoyable to use. Then for the muzzle, we are going to be using the compensator, adding a lot of recoil control. One of the biggest downsides of this gun is the bouncy recoil. This is going to eliminate all of that. Warzone, I still wouldn't even use the monolithic because of how bouncy the gun is. And that's why we have the vertical foregrip on there, eliminating the side-to-side bounce, as well as giving you that recoil stabilization. For the barrel, we are using the reinforced barrel. You can see our effective damage range with the reinforced is 50 meters, which is pretty good. The bullet velocity, 900 meters per second. So best of both worlds right there. You don't really need more bullet velocity or damage range. And you could literally even take off the reinforced, which is what I'm doing for the 5 attachment build. For the rear grip, again, you want to use this kind of gun at range, and you can play aggressive, but the ADS isn't the best. And so I want to make it snappier. And this also kind of increases that like true sprint to fire speed because you typically ADS then fire your weapon. So quick draw grip definitely going to be the most helpful thing. Then for the stock, we got the balance stock on there. You guys can see we get so much of every single type of strafing speed for the same reasons as before. It's just going to feel better on this gun than it does on the FFAR. And then lastly, fire mods. Obviously, you want to hit more of your shots. This can increase that recoil control across the board by about 10%. Take a screenshot of this build. Phenomenal build. I love it. You could do the extended mag. Now, if you do want to use the 5 attachments, what I recommend for you guys to do is take off the balance stock, take off the recoil springs, and then I'll take off the barrel and do something along the lines like this. So then you have extra ammo. You have that recoil control. You have that pretty good sight. And, you know, this thing's going to have about 43 meters of damage range, which is better than a lot of the other guns in the game. Next up, we're going to be going over the first SMG on this list. This is going to be the Lodger, the best SMG to be using at long range. It doesn't have the best TTK up close, but it is a you know, a pretty easy gun to use at long range. Got 2 different builds for y'all. Well, I guess 3 because you know, the 5 attachment and the 8 attachment version. I have the monolithic on here just to make it literally like a pocket AR. It is so enjoyable, but I know a lot of you guys aren't gonna like the ADS, so and most of you guys are gonna like the suppressor on there instead. Compensator if you want that recoil control, but if you want to be off the radar, use a suppressor. There's not going to be one that's better than the other. Like, you know, you're going to hit more shots, but then you're going to be off the radar with the suppressor. For the barrel, we are using the long barrel. The bullet velocity isn't the best, but it is good enough for the SMG. And since this thing's already so good at long range, we're going to be using it at long range, so might as well make it even better at long range. So when you do come across those AR players, gonna have a little bit of a higher chance to actually win that gunfight. For the underbarrel, then we are going to be adding the vertical foregrip, adding a lot of that you know, side to side recoil control. Although we'll probably do the G grip on here, and then we're gonna do the ergonomics. Sorry for, you know, changing the class midway through, but a couple different ways that you can use it. So then you guys can see pretty fast ADS. There's no recoil, and then this blue laser, nobody's gonna see it whatsoever, and just makes it feel like you have a faster ADS than you really do, allowing you to easily use the ergonomics. So then you're not gonna have any delays up close. You got the extended mag on here to increase that mag size. And so now it's just overall going to be a very fluid class. It's going to be the most consistent build, but if you want one with a little bit more range, do the quick draw grip on there with the vertical foregrip, and this is going to be a very, very enjoyable one as well. And then if you do want to do the 8 attachments, we're going to go add the overpressured rounds. You don't really need that recoil control, given rapid fire is pretty fun. Like this is a very, very good build right here. And then you can tie that in with the infiltrator. The balance stock doesn't give you that much of like the walking, like, you know, the shoulder and straight speed. And so I'd rather just focus on just the regular straight speed. So that's why we got the infiltrator. Then for the laser, we got the Sherlock with the vertical foregrip on there. And so this build with the rapid fire is so good. You could even do, oh wait, no, but then you have to actually add reinforce because it brings down the bolt velocity. We want one a little bit more consistent at range, overpressured with that long barrel. Shouldn't be too confusing. It's just, it kind of depends on like whatever you're doing on the map. For the second to last gun that we are going to be going over that I want to show you guys, this is going to be the C9. This is a build that a lot of people already have, but C9 is still a very, very dominant weapon. Just make sure you strafe in the gunfights. I haven't played today, so I'm a little bit rusty, but you know, pretty basic build. We got the reinforced barrel on there. Long barrel is not bad. Like long barrel is actually going to be a very good option. It just doesn't give you that much more recoil. I mean, that much more damage range. And since you can use the gun at long range, I want to increase the bolt velocity. And it just, the bolt velocity on this gun just feels a little bit weird without the reinforce. So that's why I like the reinforce. But some people, more so in multiplayer, a lot of people do the long barrel. More so in Warzone, people do the reinforce. I still like reinforce. For the underbarrel, since there's a lot of side-to-side bounce, you have to do the vertical. You can't really get away with the other grips like you can, but it's going to be harder to hit those enemies off like head glitches, or if they're pretty good, it's going to be hard to track them unless you got the vertical tied in with the recoil springs, which gives us 10% across the board. The muzzle only gives us vertical. This gun only has horizontal recoil, so you're going to be maximizing that with the recoil springs tied in with that vertical foregrip. Then for the magazine, we are going to be using the extended mag 1, make it so we don't really have to worry about reloading. Then lastly, ergonomic grip. You typically want to use on every aggressive gun. Right here is going to be the best C9 build, in my opinion, and kind of statistically. And then if you do want to rock the 8 attachments, we are going to be adding the infiltrator. For the laser, going to be doing the Sherlock laser. For the muzzle, we got the compensator on here, or you can do the suppressor to be off the radar. Like, this is also a very good build. One thing I really do like to use is actually throw in an optic, but the optics are so underrated on this gun. Then you can do the G grip, so now it feels like you have a faster ADS speed. And then it just feels like, bro, this gun is so underrated when you do add an optic. And yes, there's a little bit more recoil because it's a suppressor, but the optic kind of feels like, it makes it feel like there is a little bit less. So take a screenshot of this build as well. That's probably my favorite 8 attachment right there. I do see some people do the monolithic. I just think that's a little bit OD on this gun. And then lastly, we have the Grau 5.56, which did get nerfed a few times, but it still is a meta weapon, one of the fastest killing guns in this build. No recoil whatsoever. So incredibly easy to use, but you have to tie it in with these certain attachments. Like, you have to use the ported because it's a marksman rifle. There's a lot more initial recoil. It's going to eliminate that initial recoil as well as giving you that recoil control, making it easier to hit those rest of the shots. For the magazine, use the full auto extended mag. It's kind of built for this gun. If without it, you only have 30 rounds, and there really isn't that many cons to it. And it's just like, if you're going to be using this gun, you got to have the 50 rounds on there. And if you want to make it actually good, if you want to have it, you know, be full auto, you got to use the Grau conversion kit, which turns it from the burst to the full auto, giving you that movement speed, the vertical and the horizontal recoil control. And that's why we can kind of get away with not running an underbarrel. We just got to remove that initial recoil. The ADS speed is not the best because it is a marksman rifle. So I like the quick draw grip, just making it easy to snap onto those targets and just, you know, channel over them. And then lastly, because the gun has a lot of flinch, you have to use that combat stock, increasing flinch resistance and the aim walking movement speed. Definitely use the combat stock with all these things on here. Super good class. If you do want to use the 8 attachment, use the Ranger because the gun moves around a little bit slow. The laser, use that Sherlock laser, increasing that hit by ADS. And then lastly, we can throw on a optic of your choice, but then it kind of defeats the purpose of the Grau because, like, the Grau, you got to use it with the iron sights, but the 8 attachment build isn't too shabby. That's going to wrap it up. If you guys did find this video helpful, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, and doses.